Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Auscast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Auscast.
Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.
Hi everybody, I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Thank you for joining us here in the garage, in the court of public opinion. I couldn't do the Friday show live streaming from the dining room table because I had laryngitis. My voice just disappeared. I had no voice whatsoever. But thanks to my dear Dr. Christina, I had some antibiotics, and it's taken me, well, I don't know, 3 days. I'm kind of on the mend. I'll see what you think. Anyway, thank you for joining us. I thought I'd begin the show today with a quote of the day. The trouble with socialism, you know how I hate socialism. The trouble with socialism is that eventually they run out of other people's money.
I like that.
You like that, Pete? That's Margaret Thatcher. Vintage Margaret Thatcher. Bless you, my dear. Here's a question which we will endeavour to answer later in the show. Could it be that all of the property taxes that we pay, you know, stamp duty, rates, taxes, land tax, there are a lot of them, could it be that they are all illegal? Stay tuned. I don't know where that's going to lead, but it could be really interesting. The Oscars are on for another year. I think they're just winding up because we're recording Tuesday's program, which airs thanks to Pete and Andy Martin and his podcasting, and it goes around all over the place. I'm nicely sedated, so you can do what you like with me today. Anyway, the Oscars have wound up because we're recording Monday afternoon. And Caroline flashed down the message as the winner of the best movie of the year. Best movie of the year. I got it here as a message. What was it called? Anora. A-N-O-R-A. See, I've never heard of Anora as a candidate for the best movie of the year. And the best, the star of that particular movie won the best Oscar, best acting Oscar. And it's an independent production. God knows how hard that is to put together. Cannot imagine. Anyway, they're on for another year. It's an industry all-consuming banquet of genius and ego. Oh, I love it. I love it. I can't sit through it, though. It's appalling. It's autumn. It's a lovely time of the year. It's a beautiful afternoon, about 28 degrees here. A mild summer. Gee, a mild summer. Now that doesn't fit with the narrative, does it? What do we have? I don't know. Pete, what do you reckon? Maybe 8 uncomfortable days?
I think so, about that, yeah.
I used to, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, it was about 20, 25 uncomfortable days with temperatures over the 40-degree mark. But this summer was a walk in the park. Great weather, if you ask me. Happy birthday to colour television. 50 years old. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine sitting in front of the little tiny black and white TV set that we used to have, you know, names like Astor, you know, the 17-inch. Who could afford a 21-inch Astor? No one. A 17-inch Astor, or the Ealing, or the Admiral, and the snowy things, you know. You just have the rabbit ears on the top. Ghosting was another thing, until you twisted the rabbit ears around. But radio, you know, video killed the radio star. Well, radio once again reinvented itself. God bless it. I hope it can do it again. Well, I think we're doing it again. Maybe that's true. Maybe we're doing it again. It began in 1978. I'm talking about the gay Mardi Gras. 78, let me think. That's what, 47 years ago?
Yes.
47 years ago. Small beginnings. I remember it vaguely. But what is it about one's sexuality that makes him or her want to get on the back of a flatbed truck or on the back of a bike, you know, dykes on bikes, you know, and take to the streets and celebrate? I don't know. I'm not against anybody celebrating. God bless you. As long as you're having fun, I suppose it's okay. 3.73% increase. God help us if it was 7%. 3.73% increase in private health insurance. The funds say that their costs have gone up 10%. First increase in 7 years. Well, I don't know about that. My health insurance seems to go up every year. In the last 10 years, inflation was up 34%. Health insurance up 50%. It must be reaching a tipping point. You know, the point where it just isn't affordable. You have to do without a lot of things to be able to afford it. Is it worth it? 13 million private health insurance customers are going to feel this at the worst possible time. If Medicare did its job, private health insurance wouldn't be necessary, would it? Why do we have both? We shouldn't need both. We put in collectively, I'm told, more than $30 billion into private health insurance. Now you put that with the money put in through Medicare, the Medicare levy, which we pay as well. The amount of money that is being spent is obscene and not to the benefit of the consumer, I don't believe. And the results are just not there. From every direction, I think we're being robbed. The system is broken. We need a royal commission or a revolution. But the opposition, of course, leading up to an election, will not mention Medicare, because that will turn into a thing called a Medi-scare. So that's not going to get any traction. The Australian dollar looks sick, but is it the South Pacific peso? I don't know. Qantas has made a profit and declared a dividend, first one in a long while. $1 billion half-year profit. By the way, I agree with Jim Chalmers' decision to allow Qatar Airways to buy 25% of Virgin. Why did he even have to think about that? Bring more competition into the market, for God's sake. And for the first time, Coles is now much more profitable than Woolworths. Here is a salutary lesson, ladies and gentlemen. This is something that the directors should look at. You will not win the Australian consumer, the customer, with a woke policy. My advice to Woolworths, if you want to take it, don't refuse to sell the Australian flag. Wave it. And stick to your knitting. Food and groceries, not politics. Dear, here's a hoary chestnut. The Trump Oval Office meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. Now, we're going to deal with this fiery exchange in the White House in detail on Friday, on the Friday live streaming show at 9 o'clock, jeremycordeaux.com. I can't imagine what Trump was thinking. You don't really want to look like a bully. Good TV it might be, but I don't understand. But let's talk about it on Friday, and you can too. 0491 65 68 60, jeremycordeaux.com. Join us at 9 o'clock. I will be back in voice by then. Revelations about wireless steel. Wow. It's not the 300 million they told us they owed. It's more like $1 billion.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Auscast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Auscast.
Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.
And that's funny. The state government was aware of all of this mess 12 months ago. 12 months ago, they were talking about putting it into receivership. How much more financial damage and stress was done while they were figuring out what to do? What else is around? The Age, a newspaper I admire. It's a bit left-wing these days, but, you know, journalists tend to be that way. The Age had a front-page story generated by, who knows, the Labour Party Dirt Department, or what do they call it, the Dirt Unit. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not privy to any of that. But I don't think it's a coincidence with an election imminent. Anyway, they have dug up the fact that Peter Dutton, in 35 years, has, with his father, who's a builder, bought and sold 26 properties. Houses, shopping strips, childcare centres, that sort of thing. They, the Age, go on to speculate that he has made $30 million. Wow, what a revelation. To which I say, so bloody what? For a start, he has every right to show personal initiative and enterprise. If you don't participate in capitalism, you should not aspire to be put in charge of it. Anyway, parliamentarians, I'm talking about all of them, have between 3 and 6 investment properties. You can look that up. It's all there on the public record. No doubt, all taking advantage of negative gearing, Liberal, Labour, and yes, would you believe, even, surprise, surprise, the Greens. Ha! Wow. Could they be closet capitalists? Do you reckon? Could they? Could they? And further to this, one Andrew Charlton, the member for the marginal seat of Parramatta, came out within hours with the help of the ABC. The timing is important here. He condemned Peter Dutton. God, they must be scared of him. Condemned Peter Dutton for having bought shares in 3 banks at the height of the global financial crisis. He was a shadow minister, not finance minister or anything like that. He had no inside information. I carry no brief for Mr. Dutton, but this makes me mad and gives you some idea of the nasty, dirty tactics that Labour will deploy during this election campaign if they can. Because they're desperate. Desperate and incompetent. Not a good combination. Now, I saw on 7:30 this Andrew Charlton and his rant. I've never heard of him before, to be totally honest with you. Whatever he does in Parliament, he doesn't have a high profile, doesn't stand up and talk a lot, as far as I know. It was all about, while we were trying to save the economy, Dutton was buying shares. This guy Charlton was an economic advisor at the time. Some advisor. The most important thing at that time, as I understand it, was to have confidence in the banking system, which was under significant threat. Lose public confidence and you have a rush on the banks. And that is it. Good night, nurse. It would take great courage to go out there and buy shares in the banking sector at that time. But it was the right and patriotic thing to do. Few would do it. I certainly didn't do it. To me, that makes the man in this context a hero. I mean, if the banks failed, meaning people don't have confidence in the banking system, the economy collapses. This is the stuff of the Great Depression. I repeat, this guy, Andrew Charlton, was an economic advisor to the then Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd. A totally disreputable attack on Peter Dutton. But did the ABC question him on this? No. What does matter is that these people didn't even have the intelligence to know that having confidence in the banking system at that time, without any inside information, was a patriotic thing to do. I sincerely believe this man is a weasel, but worse than that, he's a stupid weasel, or badly briefed. The PM says, I believe that everyone should be able to see the doctor for free. What rubbish. Shades of Gough Whitlam, of course. But really, what rubbish? Why? Nothing is free. Someone has to pay. What about other professionals? Doctors are professionals. What about other professionals? Lawyers, a dentist, a psychologist, an architect. Why not? Before Medibank and later Medicare, there was no problem. I know, I was there. Thank you, Mr. Whitlam. Labor has turned doctors' surgeries into profit and business centres, and that is wrong. I want to talk to you about youth crime and the fact that offending is out of control. The big question is why? 6,000 breaches of bail. From frequent offenders, we are talking about kids as young as 10. I've got sort of the solution, I think. It's been done in other parts of the world. Make their parents responsible. Legally, criminally responsible for the behaviour and activities of the kids.
Throw in financially responsible.
Yep, financially responsible as well. I think parents would then take much more of an interest in what their kids were doing. We can talk about that maybe on Friday. The Oakley Recreational Centre in Victoria, which I've never been to, I only know about this because I heard it on 3AW. It's in the Monash Council, about whom I know nothing. There's a sign in this recreational centre over the men's toilets which says you can pick and use whichever toilet you like. They are all gender neutral. Unbelievable. Why do they want to allow men to use women's facilities? Why? Why? Did you elect that council? Would you elect them again? More left-wing council crap. These idiots, they get into local government first, introduce their chaos, and then move on to state and federal government. Ideology, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing to do with what is good policy or what is good for people or what people want. Here is the statistical truth. The census, which is really the best reference, the non-binary sex option was marked on the last census by 43,222 people, or 0.17% of the Australian population, a tiny fraction of the 28 million people in this country. These idiots can turn the world upside down for absolutely no justifiable reason and get away with it. Somehow we have to get these social engineers out of the way of society. In fact, if you look at the percentage of all LGBTIQ plus people, that's gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and all the different letters for the people who are just confused or undecided, it is only 3.6% of the population. And only, according to the census, 1.5% who describe themselves as gay or lesbian. Forgive me. There is no way in the world that an issue that affects so few people can possibly command and dictate all this nonsense. If you're a biological man who identifies as a woman, or the other way around, there was a time when you were described as someone with a mental illness. And therefore, no need to rearrange or rebuild the toilet facilities or paint your silly signs. You simply use the disabled toilets. Mentally disabled people can certainly use the disability facilities. Problem solved. By the way, this is a stop press item. Sydney, Australia has just chosen the Woman of the Year. Wow, I'm not kidding. The Woman of the Year is in fact a man. A transgender man. She calls herself Brianna Skinner. Now I looked for a bit of history, because I thought, you get to be the Woman of the Year, you've got to have some accomplishments. I couldn't find any accolades. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only thing that seems to qualify him or her is being a transgender. Really? What is the point these people are trying to make, I wonder? I mean, I don't care if people want to transition from, one thing to another. It doesn't worry me. But why would a state government make somebody, purely for that reason, the Woman of the Year? What do women in New South Wales feel about that, I wonder?
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Auscast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Auscast.
Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.
Now, while still in Victoria, here is the question. Are these taxes legal? Property and land in Victoria, as in most every other state in Australia, land has never been ceded. This is unceded land, meaning according to every Labor government, it was never legally acquired. Labor says that all land is Aboriginal land. Always was, always will be. That's what's quoted at the bottom of the emails and the official letterhead of the Victorian state government. And any other, I mean, I haven't looked at the Labor government here, but I would suspect it will be the same. So by government declaration, all land is Aboriginal land. How can they possibly charge people stamp duty on the transfer of a property, and then rates and taxes and land tax and capital gains tax? According to them, they are dealing, or we are dealing, in stolen property. That's what they're saying. Taking it one step further, the government is dealing with the proceeds of crime, which could make them guilty of larceny. Put the entire parliament in jail. They can't have it both ways. Either the land is ours to own and trade, or it isn't. We should demand that the government comes clean. If land is not ours to own, pardon me, and I quote the government, all Australia is Aboriginal land, always was, always will be. At the moment, with all their taxes and charges, the government is a major criminal, having been living off the proceeds of crime for centuries. Now remember, if you steal something, it doesn't mean that you own it. They're saying we stole it all. So why would we be asked by the government to pay tax on it? Now, would anyone like to join me in a class action? I wonder if Michael Abbott is available. He would win this. This is just beautiful. It's just wonderful. Can you imagine the fun we could have? These people are so dumb. Just amazing. Let's see where that goes. We're here with the best wishes of the Rising Sun Inn, by the way, at 60 Bridge Street at Kensington. Their telephone number is 8333 0721. Have a talk to Grant. He will make you feel very welcome in that wonderful old historic pub inn. Just wonderful atmosphere, built in something like 1845. Lots of history, lots of warm, welcoming hospitality, great menu, great wine cellar, everything you could want. And Jim Elder, Fine Art Gallery in Melbourne Street, North Adelaide, 106 and 110. They're not adjoining buildings. Well, they sort of are adjoining buildings, but not quite. Two beautiful buildings anyway. You can talk to Jim Elder and his lovely wife Helen. If you have a painting that you'd like to put in his next auction, he does 4 or 5 auctions a year, and one will be upcoming in a little while. I'll have the pleasure of talking to Jim about that. He finds wonderful paintings and they're sold fabulously all over the world. So if you've got a painting and you're not sure of its value, have a talk to Jim and he will appraise it for you and tell you if you've got something really valuable. 8267 here in Adelaide, or if you're out of town, it's 08, put an 08 in front of it, 8267 2869. Pete, am I out of time?
Well, no, a bit more.
Bit more.
A little bit.
You're a glutton for punishment, aren't you? You thought I'd die halfway through this, didn't you? No, that's all right. These disc jockeys, you know, I find it hard to imagine. I aspired once to be a disc jockey. And it was such good fun. It was back in that day, you know, the early 60s. It was glamorous. It was, oh God, you know, they drove around in E-Type Jaguars and Ford Thunderbirds, and it was just a fabulous. You can understand anyone aspiring to it. And no wonder my mother was in shock. But anyway, it doesn't matter. These disc jockeys in Sydney at the moment, they are paid big bucks. This guy Marty Sharegold was a high flyer at what was it, 2MMM, I think it was, FM station, radio station in Sydney, which is not really known for its comment or commentary, or anything particularly intelligent. But they're there to entertain. They're not there to do anything else. I mean, when I say that, it's just an opinion. We're all subject to our own prejudices. Well, he got the sack the other day for saying that the Matildas, the women's soccer team, were overrated, that they played like 12-year-old girls. Well, I wouldn't know. I'm not a soccer fan. But what's wrong with playing like a 12-year-old girl? I would have thought there's nothing wrong with that. It's hardly an insult. I'm sure 12-year-old girls play beautifully. I think really this guy is not so much a disc jockey, he's a comedian, you know, a stand-up comedian type. Maybe he thought he was being funny, but it hit a nerve instead. You see, humour is not universal, and nearly always at somebody else's expense. You know, you laugh at something that happens to somebody else, that if it happened to you, you'd cry. Now, with somebody slipping on a banana skin, it's funny to us, but to the person who slips on the banana skin, it's not funny. Another observation, all these FM stations seem to hire stand-up comics who really aren't very funny or very good, because once they've done their shtick, that's it. Not much left apart from that. But did this guy deserve to get the sack? I don't think so. I don't think so. He had an opinion, and he expressed it. If he had said that the Australian rugby side played like 12-year-old boys, it would have been fine. The modern world, apart from being woke and broke, supposedly treat men and women the same. Well, they don't. There is clearly an obvious double standard going on here. The Matildas are in the public eye, which means one has to expect comment and criticism and satire, maybe. It comes with the territory. The players are paid more than, I understand, I don't know, but I'm told that they're paid more than $200,000 a year. God knows why. That rude Sam Kerr, at 29, has an annual income, as reported in the Australian Financial Review, of $3.3 million. I must be getting old. I don't get it. I don't. Can I just give you a few dates? Have I got time for a few dates, Pete?
Yep.
It's March 4. Did you know that?
Yes. Or the year's flying.
Oh, God, I know it is. I know it is. The Battle of Vinegar Hill. I remember reading about that. The colony of New South Wales, when the Irish convicts, some of whom who had been involved in the Irish Battle of Vinegar Hill in 1798, led the colony's only significant colony uprising. Now that would be right, wouldn't it? Have you got any Irish blood?
No, we've got a lot of other stuff.
No, I don't have any Irish blood. I got some Scottish blood.
Yeah, I got that too.
But the Irish are pretty feisty. That was the 4th of March, 1804. Now, my record here doesn't tell me what was the upshot of that, you know. Did they make a point or... Anyway, Happy Birthday to You was published by Clayton Sonny on this day in 1924 and remained in public domain for years and years and years and years until such time somebody went back and decided that they were going to copyright it and go back as far as they could, and every time somebody sings Happy Birthday to You, presumably somebody has to pay somebody a royalty. It's a wonderful world, isn't it? Oranges were introduced to Hawaii on this day in 1702. First flight of the airship Hindenburg in Germany in 1936. In the United Kingdom, Princess Elizabeth, later to be Queen Elizabeth II, joins the British Auxiliary Transport Service as a driver, and she was a very good one. She drove trucks. 1945 was the year. This was the day. What a wonderful lady she was. John Lennon says we, the Beatles, are more popular than Jesus. I would love to see John Lennon today meet up with Donald Trump. I think that could be a historic moment in the Oval Office. Oh dear. Yeah. The longest bridge in Great Britain, which is the Forth Bridge, opened by the then Prince of Wales, later to be King Edward, 1,710 feet, 1890, an engineering feat. First US bombing of Berlin, 1944, David Attenborough takes charge of the BBC in 1965. AEC announced its first atomic plant in operation in 1962. The Louvre pyramid design, you know, that they've got the Louvre art gallery, and they put this great big glass pyramid in the front. I don't understand why. I think it's an eyesore. It's inaugurated by French President François Mitterrand on this day in 1989. And one more. Garrett Morgan, American inventor. He invented the gas mask and traffic signals. What a double. Born in Claysville, Kentucky. He died in 1963, but born this day in 1877. Garrett Morgan, gas mask and traffic signal. Wow. Oh, and Rupert Murdoch got married to Jerry Hall. He was 84. She was considerably younger. It's a wonderful world, isn't it, Pete?
It is. It's a very strange world.
Wouldn't be dead for quids. Bless you, Rupert. I hope you're happy. Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion from the garage. It'll be out, thanks to Andy Martin, as a podcast, and we'll be back next Tuesday with another show, and of course on Friday around the dining room table between 9 o'clock and 12 live streaming with lots of interesting guests. I think I'll probably try to bring over a lot of the guests that we had scheduled or penciled in for last Friday, bring them over to this Friday. Anyway, I'll let you know about that. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I will be back. Bless you, and thank you for viewing.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Auscast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Auscast.
Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.